So today, for the cocktail of the week, we're going to be making a Manhattan. What's going on, everybody? It is me, Tristan.
Me, Jackson.
And we are here with Drinks with Los Hermanos. We are the Los Hermanos. So today, for the cocktail of the week, we're going to be making a Manhattan. A Manhattan is made with traditionally rye, but today we're going to use bourbon made by Maker's Mark. Jackson will talk a little bit more about that. Sweet vermouth. Normally Agristal bitters, but we're going to add some orange bitters today just to shake it up. And then it's garnished with the Jardo cherry. So Jack, tell us a little bit more about Maker's Mark and bourbon.
So a little bit about bourbon. All bourbon is whiskey, but not all whiskey is bourbon. So to be legally defined as bourbon, it's got to be made in the United States. It's got to be at least 51% corn. That's why a lot of bourbons are going to be sweet and flavored, is because corn has a lot of sugar in it, and it's just going to be naturally sweeter. When it's bottled, it can be no lower than 80 proof. And part of that, part of the proofing restrictions for bourbon is because if you distill your alcohol, your spirit, more, higher volume or higher ABV, it's going to be stronger, but it's also going to suck out more of the flavor. So like if you have high proof vodkas, they start out at like 190 proof, and all of that flavor's taken out because vodkas, unless you put flavoring in, don't taste like anything.
Right.
And so with bourbon, it's got a lower proof point to keep some of that flavor. Another requirement of bourbon is that there can be no additives. It's not blended. If it does say that, it's not a traditional bourbon. There's several other requirements and other subcategories of bourbon, like barreled in bond is one, and that is where you barrel the bourbon in a federally licensed warehouse to age, and those have to be a minimum of 4 years aged in their barrels.
Yeah, and so bourbon gets its flavor and color from, like you said, the barrels, the fire,
char. They are typically white oak, and they're charred, and they have to be brand new barrels. They can't be used barrels. They have to be brand new charred,
and they have to be in the warehouse for 4 years before it is technically a bourbon by law. So no matter what bourbon you get, no matter what the age, like this is probably just a 4 or 5 or 6 year bourbon by Maker's Mark. It takes a long time. It's a very patient alcohol, and we watched actually a little documentary about bourbon last night, and what the guy said, bourbon from inception till you're drinking it is slow drinking alcohol that you take your time, you enjoy it, you're patient, you use it to bond with your family and friends. So today we're making the Manhattan, which was said to be made in the 1800s in a Manhattan nightclub. Like I said, traditionally it's believed that it's made with rye, which is a little bit more spicier, but today we're using this one. So let's get to it. All right, so we have our shaker, but we're going to be using it as a stir cup today. We take 2 ounces of the bourbon. And then 1 ounce of this, right?
Yep, 1 ounce of sweet vermouth. Not to be confused with dry vermouth, which is usually used in martinis.
Yeah, you'll get a very different taste if you use dry vermouth. It is bitter and dry and not very good tasting, in my opinion. 2 dashes of the Angostura bitters. 1 dash of the orange bitters, and then we stir it.
Stirred over ice.
And you want to let this, cool down. Point of stirring, A, is to cool it down. B, the ice actually melts every time it touches the alcohol. And so what that does is it dilutes it just a tad bit. Like an old-fashioned, it's a forever-changing drink, as they could say, because when it's in the ice, it keeps on diluting. So every time you take a sip, it's a different drink. But today, we're not going to do that. We're going to strain it into our glass. Like I said, this is a classic cocktail. Anywhere you go, they'll probably have it. They probably will make it different because it's one of those things. And then you garnish it with a cherry. I'm gonna let my brother Jackson try it.
Smells delicious.
Yeah. So what do you taste when you taste that?
Well, so I taste the sweetness from the Maker's Mark. Maker's Mark is one of my favorite bourbons. I put it in the category, for me, the Jackson category of everyday drinker. This is a bottle of bourbon that's not going to be too expensive. It's not going to be, $50, $60, $70. We got this for under $30 today. And it's got a nice sweet flavor. That's partially why I like bourbon. My alcohols, I like a nice sweet finish. A lot of scotches I'm not a huge fan of because they're very peaty, spicy, and smoky. I'm not a huge fan of that. And so you get a little bit of the orange bitters in there, not too much. It's very pleasant. And the Angostura, I actually kind of like Angostura bitters. So you get a lot of that up front, and you get a little bit of that sweet vermouth. Not too much though. It makes it very drinkable.
Yeah, definitely. It's very, very smooth, very clean, which I think, in my opinion, what these classic cocktails really were trying to achieve. They wanted to kind of make the bourbon a little bit more palatable for people that want to drink it. And so the sweet vermouth, stirring it, adding a little bit of the bitters, it brings out those nice flavors from the bourbon.
Yeah, a lot of the classic cocktails were made during Prohibition, when people were making the bathtub booze, and they were disgusting. So they made a lot of cocktails with juices and other soft drinks to make it so you could drink it.
Yeah. Well, there you are. There's the Manhattan. This also has inspired our Manhattan that we had was it summer or spring?
Yeah.
Which was made with our cold brew, hazelnut, and cherry bitters, and it actually surprisingly tasted fairly similar to Manhattan.
It was very shocking how close it tasted to this cocktail without actually having any alcohol in it and being made with coffee. But yeah, so take this. We love cocktails. He was a bartender, and we just like making them, and we want to share these with you. And hope this is something you can make at home. This is something that you should have or could have at your home bar. All these ingredients are very simple, and it's not hard to make.
No. So, cheers.
Take it easy.